Welcome back to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, is offensive coordinator Tommy Rees of the Cleveland Browns, is he insinuating that Dillon Gabriel is more NFL ready than Shedeur Sanders? We got to unpack all that here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you, man, that offensive coordinator Tommy Rees of the Cleveland Browns, and he just wrapped up his press conference earlier today for the media availability. Now, we're going into week 1 of the NFL. Opening night is tonight. And the Cleveland Browns are still making headline news. And it's all regarding around Shedeur Sanders. And what people think about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is going to get an opportunity. Now, offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. Now, all the people that are watching who don't know who Tommy Rees is, Tommy Rees played quarterback for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish from 2010 all the way to 2013, right? He went undrafted, but he spent some time playing quarterback for the Washington Redskins in 2014. Now, we know that Tommy Rees has been on the Cleveland Browns staff last year, but he was a tight ends coach. Just recently here in January of 2025, Tommy Rees got promoted to offensive coordinator. Now, I've always said things about these ex-quarterbacks. Now, we did a show regarding around what Dan Orlovsky said. He was an ex-quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And these ex-quarterbacks always think about mediocrity. And when they give in their takes, it's about mediocrity. So they don't know how to be elite because they was never elite quarterbacks. And Dan Orlovsky was never an elite quarterback. And he gave his breakdown on Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. He said that Dillon Gabriel put better game tape out there than Shedeur Sanders. And a lot of people gave him a lot of backlash about that. Now, Tommy Rees is an ex-quarterback. Now he's the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. So we haven't heard too much from the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. But today, when they wrapped up practice, media availability, and he went to the podium, and they asked him some questions about Dillon Gabriel's progress. And he said some things that are very shocking. And it's almost like really throwing a shot at Shedeur Sanders, if you understand where I'm coming from, because the way they're praising Dillon Gabriel and not giving that same praise to Shedeur Sanders when they asked him about Shedeur Sanders, to me is telling me that these people in the Cleveland Browns organization really think Dillon Gabriel can be the future of the Cleveland Browns. But then on the flip side, you go opening day when Texas played Ohio State. You travel to Ohio State. You didn't have to travel too far. And you go up there as an organization with Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslett, and Kevin Stefanski to check out what Arch Manning brings to the table. And a lot of people gave them backlash for that, thinking that this team might tank to get Arch Manning as their number 1 pick in the future quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Well, you got 2 rookies on your squad right now in Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. But offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, he said some things that make you go, wow. But before we get off into that, We partnered with Underdog Fantasy here around football time. And this is a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry, get every pick right, and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us, and thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy. Well, guys, with that being said, and let's take a listen to what Tommy Rees said at the media availability after day's practice. Let's take a listen.
In Dillon as your backup quarterback, what did you see in him that makes you feel good about this heading this game?
Yeah, the processing that he's applied to the game. I think when he's had his opportunity in the preseason, we've seen him operate really efficiently within the offense. So look, Dillon has put a lot of work in. He's been thrown in there in different settings with different reps and different opportunities against good competition, played in the preseason. So, continuing to build those opportunities for him are important as the season goes on and continuing to develop him to get him caught up to speed. But there's a poise there with him that does give us confidence in his ability to execute.
Short yardage back.
We do.
Now, you heard what Tommy Rees said, man. He said some things, man, that you guys got to pay close attention to, man. They said that Dillon Gabriel been thrown in situations against some tough competition, tough guys. So that goes to show you that Dillon Gabriel is getting all the reps in training camp and in practice, because Tommy Rees just said himself, he's been thrown in situations with some stiff competition. That means that he's going up against the first team Cleveland Browns defense in practice. Shedeur Sanders doesn't get them opportunities. So that's a bombshell report that Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, just came out and said, because like I told you guys, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with this Shedeur Sanders situation, man, because we've seen footage of him in practice lighting it up. We've seen media reports. We've seen the fan out there in Cleveland on their radio show and their podcast talking about Shedeur Sanders is lighting it up in practice. And a lot of people have been at practice and they seeing what Dillon Gabriel is doing, and they saying he's looking a little pedestrian out there. But Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, is bigging him up, talking about he's poised, he's ready, the progress that he's put in, the preparation. And when you listen to things like that, Tommy Rees, as the offensive coordinator, has the utmost trust in Dillon Gabriel to be the next quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Like I told you guys, you got to pay attention to what they say. You got to read the lines, not in between the lines. And he said a lot right there, because he got the utmost confidence in Dillon Gabriel. This ain't the first time somebody in the Browns organization on the offensive side of the ball has said this. But we see all the reports out there, and we see the footage of Shedeur Sanders showing out in practice, but they don't give him his praise. They give Dillon Gabriel his praise. That's almost like throwing Shedeur under the bus or taking a shot at him, not elevating him. And that's letting you guys know that Shedeur Sanders is not getting them reps in practice, or he didn't get them reps at training camp. This is just more evidence that's come out that they loving Dillon Gabriel. They don't think too highly of Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback in the NFL. So, guys, you got to pay attention, man. And another thing is, he said about the poise of Dillon Gabriel, the preseason reps, the preseason games, the command that he has. We all saw Dillon Gabriel throw a pick six, turn the ball over on a handoff. We all saw that, but a lot of people made excuses saying that wasn't his fault for the interception. Like I said, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, man. But this is not the bash Dillon Gabriel. This is the fact that what we've been saying to you guys is this Shedeur Sanders situation. When we talk about sabotaging, we can use that word, but a lot of people say we go too far when we use the word sabotaging because they not giving Shedeur Sanders no relevancy, man. We don't hear reports from the offensive coordinator or the head coach or anything saying Shedeur was excellent out there with the opportunities that he got. Mainstream media is not saying that. They always find an excuse to give Dillon Gabriel the boost and to slight Shedeur Sanders. Just like Dan Orlowski talked about, he put better tape out than Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders balled out in his NFL preseason debut against the Carolina Panthers. But we didn't hear too much about that. All we heard was the last game he played against the Rams in preseason where he stunk up the joint. That's all we hear about. But then you got these people on mainstream media, when they talked about Arch Manning, they're not going to judge him off of one game. But y'all judge Shedeur off of that Los Angeles Rams outing. And we all know he wasn't given a fair opportunity because 4 to 5 linemen that was protecting him got cut the next day. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.